What's up, and welcome to TRL Technical Request Live. I'm your host, Dustin, and this pro sitting next to me is Manny. This is the only stream coming to you nightly where we tear down the confusion and build up your knowledge by answering your questions live.
For the next hour, your questions are the mission. Whether you're an expert builder and looking for advice on which GPU to upgrade to, or you are just starting out and want to tackle your very first build, we are here for you. This is a weeknight tradition every Monday through Friday starting at 9 p.m. Central. Right now, let's take a moment to cover how the next hour will go. Drop your questions in the chat right now as we are just getting going. Any question that is most relevant, we will do our best to answer. As we grow, we will start targeting more questions to the daily focus as well. Hit that like button, it helps more people find the stream. And if you're new, subscribe to the channel, you won't want to miss an episode.
And at the end of the episode, we will spotlight a fantastic gaming PC from our sponsor, glitchon.com. If you're interested in this specific PC or one like it, glitchon.com can help you find the best solution for your PC needs. All right, it's time to watch that chat light up. TRL is officially live. We're going to jump into it, and as we introduce ourselves, a couple things about us. So we have been doing PCs for a very long time. Between the two of us, I don't know, probably hundreds of PCs built. But we wanted to really kind of bring something to the table when it comes to helping you guys out. Even today I had the most random question, and I just thought, like, man, how did that work? And his question was, hey, point me in the direction of a great PC. My first thought was, well, I've got a lot more things that I need to know about you and what you're trying to target. So what we do here is basically try to help you understand, what PCs are going to be starting about, where to start, where to look, and we really want to answer those questions that you have. So when we take a look at today is Making Monday. What that means is we're going to take a look and see just getting started into PCs. As you drop questions in the chat or even in the comments if you're watching this later, what we're going to be doing is taking your top questions and seeing how we can help you as you get into the world of building PCs. Manny, we've got a lot of questions here as I scroll through, man. I don't know. What do you think? What's one of the most common questions that you get asked about PCs?
One of the most common questions, really that always gets brought up, is kind of which one is better for streaming? Is it Intel or is it Ryzen? And this is CPUs, central processing units. Which brand out of the two? I mean, there's so many brands when it comes to PCs. It can get a little hectic a lot of times in terms of which to choose. What's your best performance wise? But I feel like starting with that
Yeah.
question would be a great starting point.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we're going to do is we're going to switch over to this scene here, and this is going to allow us to kind of dive a little deeper into the topic of getting into building a PC. Now, another thing that I'll share with you guys is if you maybe you're watching this because you want to get into building PCs yourself, right? Maybe you want to do this on the side, or you're looking to build one for yourself or for somebody else. But it's actually not that difficult. One of the things that I've really kind of focused on is there's only about five, six, maybe seven different key pieces, components to building a PC. And as many mentioned, I think one of the things that I would always, dictate and kind of direct people towards is starting with that CPU. That CPU, that's the brain, that's the heart, in the sense of your whole computer build. And that's where you're really going to start when you're putting these computers together. So we're going to dive in and kind of take a look here. Now, I'm sure everybody's got their preference. I'm sure we've even seen it in the chat, right? There's probably a question that pops up in here that says, "Oh, should I go AMD or should I go Intel?" Right? Well, in the end, it's really more about they all get you there in the same way. It's just like cars, man. They will all get you the same place. It just depends on how you want to get there. So I've built several AMD PC builds. I've built several Intel builds. I know Manny has as well. I don't really have a preference, to be honest with you. Like I've really been I've had a lot of good success with both types of chips. I know AMD's come a long way. Intel for a long time was kind of the mainstream, go-to CPU there. But Manny, this week I think we're going to start with, as we start our first episode and we're talking about making Monday. Look, I don't want to do a $3,000 build. We don't want to do a $4,000 build, right? Let's keep it budget friendly. Let's keep our first set of viewers in mind. This is going to be for somebody who's, really just wanting to get into, gaming and possibly some streaming. So just out of curiosity, man, what would you target a CPU? Like, what would you look for?
For a beginner PC, I would definitely I would definitely say the AMD Ryzen 5 series, the 5000 series, is a fantastic overall, just very comfortable central processing
Yeah,
unit. If well, for those that like AMD anyways, when it comes to Intel, I feel like you definitely cannot go wrong with the 9000 series. That was a very strong CPU, and I mean still is for the games that are coming out.
yeah, for sure. And the other question that's always going to come up on building a PC is, what's the budget going to be, right? So even if we're looking at an entry level PC or maybe even a good budget PC, but then the question pops up, well, how much is this going to cost me, or what do we got to do? Look, you don't have to spend thousands of dollars to get into a good gaming PC, right? And as we kind of take a look at some of these parts and components here, Manny called out the Ryzen 5, 9000 series. That's this like a 9600X. Not bad at the 198 price, right? Not too bad there. A pretty good starting price. Um, Manny, what's Intel's comparable chip to that? Intel i5, what, 14th?
I'd say yeah, probably even 13.
13th end, yeah.
Yeah,
So
mid 13 gen.
let's take a look here too, right? And when we look at these chips, I mean, again, they're all comparable price. They're I think so between 160 to about 200 for a CPU is probably what you're gonna expect to pay for a decently new chip that's gonna really run this entry level PC or this mid level PC pretty well. Remember, we're focusing on solid gaming performance along with the ability to stream online, and I'm sure that's what a lot of people are really wanting to get into. Again, that's I don't know about you, but that's one of the questions I feel like I get every day is, hey, I want to start streaming. I want to get into streaming. What kind of PC do I need? So I think if we focus on that, so just to kind of give you guys a couple of examples of CPUs, right? As Manny said, an i5. I know they make i7s. I know they make i9s. Those are for massive builds, and you don't have to go that route, to be honest. So I agree. I think an i5 13th gen, so a 13 400 or even an i5 14. Like this one's a pretty good deal right now, right? i5 14 600K. And we'll get into other details on like what 600K means and the K versus the F. We'll kind of dive in a little more on those on another episode. But today we're really just kind of getting into the basics of, let's find a good computer chip. Let's find a couple other good components and get this PC build off to the right start. So I'm going to go back and let's do the Ryzen one. So, Manny, I like your idea. Let's start with that Ryzen 5. Let's start with that. And you know what? Ryzen 5 9600X, not a bad one at all. So we're going to add that to our list. CPU cooler, let's get past that for now, right? Some of these chips, just so you guys know, some of these computer chips, when you buy them, they will come with coolers, included in them, and some do not. A lot of the newer ones don't seem to. The older ones kind of seem to include that. But we'll move on to coolers later. For now, let's just get the core components of this build that we really want to kind of focus on. All right, what's next, Manny? So let's say I'm new to this, and okay, I decide I want to go to AMD. I'm going to pick the AMD Ryzen 5 9600X. Sounds like a good price, right? And then next thing I know, what do I need next? How do I know what I want?
Perfect, yeah. And well, I mean, just to butt in right quick, but I mean, with it being Cyber Monday today, I mean, it's even better that we're doing this.
Oh yeah, no doubt, for sure, for sure. It was a great day to launch and get this episode out there to everybody for a build. So there's some
Oh, absolutely.
great deals going on, and again, Amazon. We've got our affiliate link in the description below. If you guys are looking to build a PC and you're looking for some good deals, Amazon absolutely has some great parts. We really appreciate the use of our link down below. That really helps out the channel for us. Um, with the PC, so we've got our CPU selected out. I think what next would be a motherboard, right? We kind of need to go to that one next. I think that's going to be our next key component. Now, Manny, answer me this question. All right, if I've got an AMD Ryzen 5 9600, can I take my 15-year-old PC and use that motherboard just to save money? Can I use that motherboard?
Great question. So, with it being a 15-year-old motherboard, I mean, we of course do need those newer components, but the amazing thing about, PCs is that there's always new components coming out. So upgrading is not going to cost $300-400 for a new motherboard. It can honestly be as low as like 150. There are tons and tons of fantastic options at that price point.
For sure. I see a lot of numbers here too, and as I'm looking at the prices, I'm like, okay, so I'm looking at a decent budget one here. So for 139, this B650E Max gaming Wi-Fi. I'm gonna go ahead and assume that it includes Wi-Fi built into the motherboard. And I think that would be a decent one, right? Um, ATX. What is ATX? Like what does that mean to me?
Great question. So when it comes to motherboard, of course, size in terms of PC is going to come from your case size. So depending on how big your case is how big your components kind of have to be. So when it comes to like ITX, mini ITX, those are going to be specifically based upon your case size and kind of what you can put into that PC. If you buy a small case, you can't have a huge motherboard. It's kind of where that helps out. But the amazing part about this website as well with PC Part Picker is that as you choose your components, it'll automatically help you in terms of what parts actually fit into that PC case.
Yep. Yeah, love it. And again, most of the builds that Manny and I do, unless people specifically request a mini ITX, that's a very small case, right? Very confined space. Heat is definitely the death of most PCs and part components. So unless you're just going for that absolute micro build, I usually recommend a standard ATX case or larger, just because that's going to give you enough airflow for all the fans to do their work. So honestly, I think this one's pretty decent. Right here, this Asus B650. So it's our standard ATX size, and then as Manny mentioned, the website has already done the work for me. So the socket, the CPU that we chose was an AMD Ryzen 5. That's an AM5 computer chip, which means it will fit into this AM5 motherboard. And again, 139, Manny mentioned, right? About 150 bucks or so. That's a decent steal. So I'm going to go ahead and let's add that to the cart. Now, before we move on to the next component, I want to go back to the chat scene and kind of see what other top questions a lot of people are asking. Oh, I see one about RAM. RAM, man. Oh my gosh. There's so many different questions. 8, 16, 32. Do speeds matter? Like DDR4 versus DDR5. There's so many different questions about RAM. And so I think that's where we're going to focus our next component as we get into it. So let's do that. Memory. All right, let's go back here. So memory. So RAM. All right. Manny, for those of us that are watching and kind of learning as we build PCs, in your experience, is 16 gigabytes the average, for most gamers for what they need to get started?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I know there's a whole bunch of YouTube videos out there, saying that you need 32 gigabytes, 64 gigabytes, 128 gigabytes. Absolutely not.
No.
Especially for right now, with kind of what we're targeting, with it being budget builds. There's tons of options that are fantastic when it
For
comes
sure.
to RAM at a 16 gigabytes. 8 gigabytes. If you were to ask that question, I would say would be a little bit underperforming in terms of what is needed, but 16 gigabytes is a fantastic sweet spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, as we're looking at this, one of the other questions again that pops up in chat a lot of times is, hey, DDR4 or DDR5, right? Simply put, DDR4 is the kind of last generation of RAM and speeds. DDR5 is the newest, RAM technology and speeds. But it's not just about, oh, well, let me just go with the newest. You actually have to pay attention to your motherboard that you add. Not all motherboards will accept one or the other or both. So you actually have to kind of go back and pay attention to it. So what we need to do here is let's go back one step and take a look at our motherboard. Okay, so we know it's AM5. We know it's going to fit our computer chip. But what we need to take a look at is, does it accept DDR4 or DDR5 RAM? That's what we're looking at. And what you're going to look for right here, see it says RAM type DDR5. Now we know that we need to go back and look for DDR5 RAM. It doesn't have an option. If you find a great deal on DDR4, or maybe somebody's got the hookup and they're just, they're upgrading, they're like, hey, you can have my, 16 gigs of DDR4 RAM. Well, guess what? It doesn't fit. The notches are a little different, and those slots for those RAM sticks will not match. So now that we know that we need DDR5 RAM coming from our motherboard, because that's where it's going to fit into, we're going to take a look here. You also see the speeds. Again, unless you're a hardcore gamer and you're going to get into tuning, and I mean tuning like you would a car, right? Like you're going to get in there and mess with all the different settings and changes. Generally, your computer will auto detect the RAM speeds and settings and set a limit to it. This is where people talk about overclocking their computer chip, overclocking their RAM. To be honest, I've done it once for my computer, noticed, a little bit of difference and never did it again. I've sold hundreds of PCs. I know Manny builds them all the time. We sell them left and right. Manny, do you ever mess with your RAM speeds? Do you ever mess with any kind of, overclocking in terms of RAM or your computer chip?
If it's not necessary, I really wouldn't recommend doing it.
For sure.
Honestly, primarily because whenever you start messing with those, small, minute things when it comes to PCs. A small change.
That's
The
right.
PC's already made to where it's performing, as it should. And whenever
Yeah.
you start messing, with those minute things,
Mm-hmm.
it can potentially even damage it if you don't do it correctly. So I would
Yeah.
definitely not recommend if it's not necessary, of course.
Yeah. Let's do some searching here, and I'm not sure why this isn't working here. Let's see, DDR5. Let's do 16 gigs of RAM. So we know we need DDR5. Let's focus on 16 gigs of RAM if we can. And let's see, add from filter. Oh, no. What happened? Let me delete that back out of there. So choose memory. Not sure why this was. Yeah, the filter's not working out very well. That's okay. So we want to do DDR5 because it matches our motherboard. We're also going to do 16 gigs of RAM because that's all we need. Now, most RAM sticks, they will come in pairs, right? You've got two sticks. So if you're doing 32, you're going to have two sticks of 16. If you're doing 16, you're going to have two sticks of 8. Remember, again, this is not the ultimate max build. We're doing a decent budget build. We're probably trying to keep it in, I don't know, between 700 to 1,000. For those that are interested in getting out of that console, out of that Xbox, out of that PlayStation, and switching into, their first PC build, it's going to be, again, great for regular, for our standard games, our AAA games, and for streaming. So, Manny, I'm going to select a DDR5 set here at 16 gigs. Oh my gosh, I see some that are so expensive, right? Upwards of $400, $500, $600. Also I see a bunch of brands. Have you what's up with all the brands? Does it matter? Like, should I just select somewhere in the middle, or why would I want $500 RAM sticks versus 140? Like, in your experience, what do you notice?
So in my experience, it really again depends on what you're going for in a PC. Of course, for those diehard PC fans, they have a little bit more knowledge when it comes to what brands, what pricing, where performance needs to be at. But whenever it comes to something like DDR5 RAM sticks, they're already priced pretty good. Even something in the middle towards like the lower end is going to be okay. Again, you don't really need to dive too deep into it for this being your first
Yeah,
build for the viewers watching. And again, with PC Part Picker, it does a fantastic job at kind of eliminating the options that you don't need. So whatever option you choose is going to be safe
for
um,
sure.
when it comes to these options here.
And another thing too is, and I do this, like I check out the reviews. I'm really looking to see
Yeah.
if something doesn't have a review, doesn't necessarily mean that it's not good or bad, but I do check out reviews. And this one right here kind of caught my attention. DDR5, 4800 megahertz speed, 2 times 8 gigs stick, so it's going to be 16 gigs of RAM. by Crucial, which is a very popular company for making RAM sticks, and it's $110. So honestly, I mean, I think that that's probably one that I would set we're looking at this decent build that's going to allow us for play these games really well along with streaming. I think that's a decent price right there. All right, let's check the chat, see if we've got anything else. We have got, let's see, fans. We got water cooling. You know what? Let's do that one real quick. Okay, water cooling versus air cooling. Man, this is going to be I'm sure a big toss up. You're going to have people that will fight one way or the other, and they'll tell you left and right. Uh, I don't know about you, Manny, but I like just tower fans with or tower coolers with a fan, right? They're easier to install. To be honest, I don't think I've ever had any issues with water cooling, no leaks or anything like that. But I have had the water pump itself stop working. I've had those happen a couple times where you go to start it up and you don't hear anything. And again, you can't replace that. That's not something that's easily replaceable. So generally, again, especially for this budget type of build, this mid entry level to mid tier, I would definitely stick with tower. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, personally, actually, I prefer the liquid cooling
Do
to the
you?
water
Okay.
cooling.
Hey, no,
I mean, for me personally, it's more of a visual thing more than anything.
very
I
true.
feel
They
like
do look awesome.
they look super cool, yeah,
They do.
especially the ones that have like the little screens on them.
Ah, yes,
But back to your point actually, and that's a really good point that you made, is that when it comes to air cooling, they are super easy to install,
for sure.
and not only that, but they most of the time even last longer and are lower priced than liquid cooling. So for a budget build, I definitely would think that'd be the way to go.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of different pricing when it comes to the liquid cooling, right? Like, I mean, this one's not bad from Arctic for $89 for a liquid cooler. I mean, I've seen some up to $300 or $400 for a liquid cooler, that's got three fans and they call them radiators, right? And they're different size radiators. They're longer. AIO radiator is the common term that we use, but I've seen them really expensive. But to your point, in a budget friendly build, man, tower coolers will have no problem getting the job done. And the assassin, I've heard that name often. That's one that I've used quite often. Look, 20, $30 for a tower cooler is not bad. Again, what did I say earlier, right? I look at the reviews. I'm looking at how many. I mean, there's a couple of them here. Both of these, this one's about half the price. 195 reviews, 150 reviews here. Um, that's giving you the noise speed on it and then the RPM level. But honestly, this one here, let's click on that real quick because I think, yeah, that's a twin tower, right? So we've got dual towers here and dual fans. 3490, not a bad deal at all. And we really want to make sure that we keep the CPU cool. Now, one thing I will call out as you're looking for your coolers, not all of them will come with the universal brackets and the ability to fit your CPU. So you do need to scroll down and you've got to do a little bit of checking. Remember, we are doing an AM5 build. So as long as it says CPU socket, it will come with the extra brackets and adapters needed to fit that computer chip. Now, there's some older AMD chips and there's some older Intel chips. Actually, I think Intel's got most of them on here. They haven't changed much. But if you had a really old PC and you were trying to upgrade, you would most likely not be able to use this tower cooler because it's not going to have the brackets that are adapted to that older motherboard. But for our sake, look at that. AM5, it's on the list. Check. $34, not bad at all. Let's add that to our build. Oops. Sorry. Yep, Amazon. Gotta love that. Good deals. Okay, so we're gonna do that. Add that to our build. So $39. Additional memory, we're good. All right, storage. Let's see here. Oh, you know what? I think I remember seeing a chat. One of the questions in the chat there, Manny. It was, talk to me about SSD versus HDD versus M.2 versus all the other types of drives that are out there. So when we're talking about storage, right? Yeah, there it is, right there. Hard drive and solid state drive. Manny, what's your go-to when it comes to the primary drive that runs the software for your computer?
So a primary one. I mean, right now with the technology that we have at the moment, your M.2 NVMe is going to be the way to go. Um, especially for those of you who are transferring from console to PC, especially if you purchase a NVMe, you are going to notice night and day difference when it comes to download speeds, upload speeds. I mean, just
For
just
sure.
those terms of capabilities on NVMe M.2. I mean, they're just it. It took me by surprise whenever I switched from console to PC. I will say that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's one of those things where I really wanted to pull this up and just kind of show you guys like a graphic chart here of what it would look like, right? And what the differences are. So here's the shape and size difference, right? This is your old hard drive, right? I think it gave you a very large size. It took up a big chunk in your PC. It added a lot of weight, and then we upgraded over time to these solid state drives. And now, as Manny mentioned, these NVMe M.2 drives, and these things are tiny. Like this picture probably doesn't do it justice, right? It looks like it's bigger than all of them. It's not. It is teeny tiny, and they're super thin, super lightweight. They keep a lot of weight down in your PC. But the one thing that I really wanted to take a look at is just it's the overall speeds and how fast these things are. When we're putting a PC together, the first thing that you're going to do once you've got your build done is you're going to install Windows to it. Now, if you guys have ever had some old laptops or old computers, maybe you're a little older, like I am, and you've been around computers for a long time, and you remember when Windows took, 15 minutes to boot up. That is no more, right? We are in a day and age where these computer chips are so fast, so wicked fast. That I mean, the ones that we've got running our stations right now, and the ones that Manny and I build consistently with these M.2 drives, I don't know, man. What do you say? 10, 15 seconds from the time you hit the power button to the time it's asking you to type in your password and ready to load in.
And a lot of times that's even being generous.
For
It
sure.
can even be less than that.
For sure. It is quick. So look, if you're questioning whether you should go for it, the price difference is negligible. There's not a whole lot of difference when it comes to that. Let's take a look here and see when we're looking at our M.2 drives versus a standard solid state drive. Let's see. I think I saw one here. Here we go. Okay, here's a good price point. Now, Samsung always charges a premium for their name and for their brand. Now they do offer some amazing speeds when it comes to their products, but $109 for a 1 terabyte, SSD, and I know for a fact that we could probably find an M.2. Remember, we're looking at a decent budget here. There's another one, right? So these are low storage. Manny, I don't know about you, man, but I always stick with, if we're just going to do one drive for this, I would stick with a 1 terabyte drive or bigger. You agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Cool.
especially with the amount of storage that the new games need, I feel like
Massive.
1 terabyte is would be the minimum, but also a comfortable storage amount for a beginner build.
For sure. Yeah, massive amounts of data that these games are taking up. Man, I play Fortnite with my son, and I swear, like every week, this game is doing an update, and it's like more and more data, more and more data. I've got games I play on my PC, and it's like, oh, time for an update. Oh, crap, you don't have enough space. I have to remove stuff to make room for these updates. They're so big. And some of these games that come out, man, I mean, they're 50, 60 gigs or more just for the game itself. They're massive. So I love the content. I love how much these creators are doing some amazing things with these games. But if you don't have the storage for it, you're going to be disappointed that you didn't start with a 1 terabyte or higher. 512 is not bad, or 500 gig, you want to half it, but you're going to run into an issue where just a few games and a few updates, you're going to find yourself needing some more storage immediately. So, as many said, I would definitely recommend starting with a 1 terabyte. And again, we're looking for the M.2, the NVMe drive. Trying to find a decent one, and I always sort by price, right? We're trying to do a budget, so we're going to kind of take a look at the prices here and see if we can find an M.2 drive with a 1 terabyte storage capacity to get our build off in the right start. Probably, I usually see these. There we go. I mean, I think that's probably the least expensive. That's still 500 gig. For 1 terabyte, usually you're running around 50 to 75 for an entry level one. Depending on the brand. And then as you get up into the other ones, like say Kingston and Samsung, you're probably going to start to pay a little bit more. So let's see if we can find one here that's We're probably gonna have to go a little higher here. Let's see. Manny, have you ever had an M.2 drive give out on you? Have you ever had one go bad?
Personally, I haven't really experienced that.
Never. I've had SSDs, that like I mean okay, when I first started doing this, man, I shorted it out because I had the wrong cable plugged into a power supply and I had it
Oh my
back
gosh.
shorted it out, right? Now with these M.2 drives, I mean they plug directly into your motherboard, right? They get the power from there. So there's really no mismatching wires. There's nothing you have to worry about in there. It's a very big space saver. But I've got one that I use for all my personal stuff. Manny, I think I've used this same M.2 drive in about 50 different PCs because sometimes I use it for testing, in and out, removing in and out, connecting in and out. Never had a problem. Oh, I better knock on some wood. Oh my gosh, knock on some wood. Never had a problem. This thing still keeps going. It's got all my data on there. So M.2, MDNE, absolutely the way to go. But let's see if we can find one for a decent price here. All
That's
right, looking for
that's the
one.
beauty about a NVMe. You actually touched on a very very amazing point that I feel like not a lot of people even talk about. I mean, you can literally just take out that NVMe and plug it into another PC and just keep on gaming. I mean, there's no cords, no. It's super user friendly.
Yeah, super simple. See, I still haven't seen a M.2 for 1 terabyte yet. Like I said, okay, we're looking at let's see here, team group 650. All right, let's go a couple more pages. I'm okay with doing that. Okay, here we go. That one's oh look at that. That one's out of stock. That's okay. Vision Tech 1 terabyte. Adlink at 70. That one's got a few reviews. Let's see if we can find another one with a few more reviews. Aha, there we go. Okay. Silicon Power, 1 terabytes, SS M.2, and it's got 25, pretty good reviews. All right, not bad. And that's a pretty decent price. But yes, to Manny's point, like I've done that. I literally, it is so nice to be able to just take that bad boy. I mean, within seconds, it's one screw, unscrew it, pop it into another PC, and you're good to go. Like your stuff is there. You don't have to undo the back panel. You don't have to unplug things. You don't have to worry about plugging things back in. And I've been doing this for a long time. I've had hard drives fail on me, never been able to recoup the data off there. I've had, like I said, a couple SSDs fail on me. One, I take ownership. I fried it. I hooked up the power supply inappropriately, incorrectly to it, and yeah, saw a little spark, and it never worked again. So M.2 for the win on this side. All right, Manny, looking good. We've got our M.2 drive going. What's next? We have. Oh, okay. We're up to. Okay, here we go. The graphics card.
Oh, here we go.
Here we
It's
go.
my favorite part.
Yes. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, there are two, okay, maybe two, maybe three, but there's one real key component to your gaming PC to drive graphics, and that is your graphics card. Their graphics cards have been around for a very long time, dedicated graphics card. Sometimes these things can be as big as the entire motherboard themselves. They can be massive. Some of the chat questions, right, are hey, look, NVIDIA graphics card versus AMD Radeon graphics card. Which one's the best? Um, Again, Annie and I have done this for a long time. And, when we look at it, I'm not going to really tell you guys my preference. I'm not going to go there. But I've seen them both do amazing things. And I learned something new over the last couple of years that I didn't know this, but I guess when games are being developed and created, a lot of times they're being developed and created with a certain brand in mind. There are games out there that will absolutely crush and dominate performance on an NVIDIA card versus an AMD because that's what they were intentions of design and use for. And then on the reverse side, there are some that will do really, really well with an AMD Radeon graphics card simply because that's what the developers wanted. So, Manny, when we're looking at this to build that we're doing, yeah, we're good on time. Look at that. When we're talking about this, we'll get through our graphics card and then we'll take a quick break for our Patreon. But when we're looking at graphics card, man, remember $700 to $1,000 budget, getting out of a PlayStation, getting out of the Xbox, and we really want to start getting into streaming. What would you target for a PC like this?
Oh gosh, there are tons and tons of options. I know for a beginner PC builder, it can definitely be very can be a little stressful with all the options that there are.
Yeah,
Um, I know with the 5000 series that just came out. I know the 4000 series actually dropped a bit in price, which I mean those are still
for sure.
fantastic cards for a beginner build when it comes to Nvidia, anyways.
Yeah, yeah, like Manny was saying, right? Is I mean, look, some people do this with cars. Some people just don't need to go get that newest car out. You don't need to go buy the brand new model because last year's models are still great.
Yep.
They're still running fine, and even now, like you can find, they have 5000 series, so that's their fifth generation. They have 4000 series, like a 4060. That's the fourth generation, and all the way back. You could probably still find a 2000 series, a 2080 for new, in new condition, like brand new, sealed in a box. They still sell these. They still, manufacture these, or they're still out there and available. The first one I'm looking at, it's funny because the very first one that pops up is a 3060. That's the third generation. That's a 3000 series graphics card. And by the way, that 12 gigabyte, that was a very powerful card. And I think I've used that graphics card in numerous builds. I'm sure you have as well, Manny.
I have.
But in the uh, essence of price and keeping within the budget limits that we have, right? I don't know if I even want to sort this by price. Yeah, I'm going to undo that. Okay. I don't want to, and look, you saw it, right? I mean, they make graphics cards that don't have any power supplied to them, period, and they start at $50. And they've got graphics cards that are just, more than what people should pay, period. Like, don't even. Why are we even looking at that? Why would they even make that, right? So I think what we're really gonna do is look at. Um, let's do this. All right. Yeah, I think I'm gonna reset that. Let's see here. I just want to see and different manufacturers, all of these manufacturers, and there's so many other ones that will make graphics cards. They're all decent. I mean, we've used Manny and I have built so many computers and used so many and tested on so many that they're all decent. So, but I think what I would like to do for this build is we'll do two comparisons. We'll take a look. So, Manny, I liked your idea about going 4000 series for the graphics card. So, what do you think, a 4060 or 4070? 4060 for this budget build?
I feel like a 4060 would be
I think so
fantastic.
too. I think so too.
I know you can find some 4070s at really great prices, but just for purpose of a
Yeah,
beginner build, I think that's a
yeah.
great
So
starting
let's,
point.
let's see what we've got here. So let's see, 4060. All right. So I see one. So there's an Asus Dual NVIDIA RTX 4060, 8 gigs. Now, when you guys are looking at the memory, most of these graphics cards that we're going to be talking about, honestly, the 8 gigs is the sweet spot. When you're coming out of a console, the 8 gigs is your sweet spot. Yes, you're going to find some for 12 with 12 gigabytes. Yes, you're going to find some all the way up to, as we saw earlier, 48 gigabytes of video RAM running these cards. But the sweet spot, honestly, is between that 8 to maybe 12 gigabytes of graphic power when it comes to these cards. We've got one here. This is a 4060 8 gig for 419, not too bad. I see one. There's another, again, Gigabyte is a very popular one. I think I see these at Best Buy quite often, right? Gigabyte 4060, 5 reviews. It's got a little bit of a lesser rating than some of the other ones, but $399. Hey, it's a $20 savings over that. Not too bad. Now, I'm going to just take a look real quick. So, Manny, what is the AMD kind of compared compromise for the 4060 or something that's comparable? What's the comp for AMD to a 4060?
I'm trying to think. I know there's a little bit higher end 6000 series or a little bit lower end 7000 series.
Yeah, 6600.
Yeah, there is 6600 or 6700 XT.
Okay. And again, guys, we're just going. Manny and I have done this so long, we kind of know what model numbers we're looking at when it comes to this. So 6600 XT. So again, yeah, and it makes sense, right? 8 gigabytes, core clock speeds around the same, and obviously the prices are about the same. So you're probably going to find those. Now, paired with the Ryzen 5, just because you're going AMD CPU does not mean that you have to do the AMD graphics card. So I think I'm going to concur with my partner, Manny, and we're going to do a 4060. Um, Manny, let's see here. We have the Asus Dual for 389. So 10 reviews, 10 stars, or sorry, 10 reviews, 5-star review, looking pretty solid. Core speed a little bit less, but not bad for what we need. And 389 seems like the best price out of all the ones we've seen. You know what? Any hesitation on doing this Asus 4060?
Not at all. Solid
All
card.
right, boom. Let's do it. All right, let's see how we're doing. We have got several of our key components in our cart currently going. And as Manny mentioned, one of the best things I love about this website is I love the wattage estimator. I love that it does the hard work for you. So when we get down here to our power supply, you don't have to guesstimate. You don't have to be a math wizard and start calculating all this stuff out. It does it for you. It's going to tell you right there. And we'll talk a little bit more on how the RAM calculates and some fans and stuff like that. But before we do that, Manny and I would like to share with you guys about our Patreon that we have going for. So Manny, take it away.
Alrighty, guys. Well, before we dive into this next round of technical requests, we want to give a quick shout out to our Patreon supporters. Absolutely amazing people. You might see that link flashing below, or someone in the chat with a special badge. So what that means, so what is Patreon, and why should you consider joining?
That's right. Why should you consider joining? Patreon supporters get some really cool perks, okay? Let's break them down to see which works best for you. The Observer package customizes the streams, perfect for those who wish to vote on future topics that we discuss. If you want a little bit more than that, we've got the Priority. It's an exclusive stream for this tier and higher, where your questions get placed at the top of the list, and we kind of address those first. Then we have the Deep Dive. If you have an in-depth question that needs answered, this is for you. It includes premium content and live Q&A on our other channel. And then last but not least, we have the VIP. This is for our diehard fans. If you've been needing some one-on-one assistance but have never been given the opportunity, we're here for you. This is what we do. So this is the ultimate tier, and this is for you.
Simply put, Patreon is how you directly support the TRL stream. We are super grateful for that. If you love the stream and want to become a core part of the TRL community, check out the link in the description, or just type Patreon in the chat to see all the tiers. Thank you all for the support, whether you're donating, subscribing, or just hanging out, which is perfectly fine. We love that. Now let's get back to solving these next issues.
Yep, there we go. All right, let's see. Manny, we talked about this, but power supply is coming up. We'll jump up to that. I think I saw one in there. Oh, okay, wiring for power supply. So does somebody have to know how to solder? Like, do they need to know how to splice wires or do anything like that when it comes to their power supply?
That's actually a fantastic question, and I feel like it's a huge misconception whenever it comes to like PC building. I mean, you hear, all these like small parts that like, hey, it's super complex. Let me tell you, no, you do not need to have any knowledge whatsoever of soldering. That is, yeah, too much.
Yeah.
It is honestly just a couple cables, and it a lot of times is even explanatory whenever you actually get that product. Um, in the box, it actually comes in a manual that specifically tells you like where the plugin goes and parts of your PC. Simple
Yeah,
as that.
yeah, it really does. I was going to look that up actually, and just so PC power supply, and let's see, connectors. Okay, and
And honestly,
kind of take a
when I
look at it.
first started, sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. When I first started building PCs, that was kind of my misconception. I was like, do I need to know how to solder? That's kind of why I didn't even start for a long time, because I was scared of that.
Yeah, it's if you've ever taken apart an old computer, yeah, they were soldered. They were hardwired in. Like there was no removing them, right? But with technology now and the way that the computers are being built, like you don't have to. And here's the deal: every one of these components or cables that comes out of the back of a power supply, it can really only go in one spot. It's not that difficult. This is the massive one. This is your motherboard connector. It's a 24 pin, and it can only go in one way. You can't even reverse it because each little pin has, it's either squared or rounded on one side. You can't get it wrong. It's really not that difficult. And then there's a couple other ones. You've got your 4-pin connector that goes up under the top that actually powers the motherboard itself and the RAM. And then you've got a couple others that connect up to your graphics card. Now remember, as we talked about earlier, we chose an M.2 drive, which means we don't need a power supply going into our drive like you would if you had an SSD or even the old school hard drive. So we don't need that. Just your graphics card cable. And then, this kind of shows you what you would have with your old SATA power cords going into those drives, but we don't need that. So in a sense, when it's all said and done, I think we're going to have, one going into the motherboard, the main power. We're going to have, two possibly going in up at the top for our motherboard. And then we'll have some for our GPU or graphics card, and that's about it. Maybe we've got a few other cables that will pop in there or need to connect if you've got any additional, fans that are RGB powered, or you've got a different, RGB remote control, something like that. You might have to connect, but that's it. It's actually really simple. They've simplified it so much over the last few years. Now, Manny, we are a power supply, but we're at 279 watts. So is that all I need? I only need a 300-watt power supply? What do you think?
Great question. So this is going to be a little bit more in depth than typical beginner PC, but now, of course, that number that they give you is kind of standard. What kind of minimum you need, but always the rule of thumb is to go above the recommended power wattage, simply because whenever you start gaming, whenever you start or using a whole bunch of programs, your power is going to be incoming a lot more than kind of what is on there. So
Yeah,
long as you're a good amount above, of course, doesn't have to be like 1,000 watts, 2,000 watts, but just a good amount above, just comfortable amount, just to give you that sweet spot to kind of play around with.
definitely. And as you can kind of see here, right? I mean, a lot of these are kind of starting in the 650. I mean, the lowest one I think of, on the old PCs, yeah, they had 350, 400 watts and stuff. I think the lowest I ever see now is 500 watts, and that's kind of the entry level that you would go to. Now, if we're going to do a build like this and we're going to spend that much money, I think I would go a little bit more than $40 for a power supply, and I'm going to go a little bit more than 500 watts. The other reason too is every time you add a fan, or let's say we update our RAM to more powerful, or you add more RAM sticks, you're going to be drawing more wattage as well. So as many said, I would definitely go with something a bit higher than that. Now the good news is the new AM5 CPUs, they do not draw much power at all. And then the really cool part is that 4060 does not draw much power at all. So I mean, could we get away with a 500-watt power supply? Probably. I'd be very careful about running it too long on for too many hours in a row or streaming. So my recommendation, I don't know, Manny, you kind of help me out guidance on this. I would probably say 600 to 650 for this PC. I think would be a pretty sweet spot for it.
Oh, absolutely. I
Okay.
mean, just kind of, as you mentioned as well, just keeping in mind that you might want to change a couple parts out in the future. I mean, at least you have that wiggle room, but
Yeah.
600 650 is a fantastic spot for this build.
Yeah. And we'll dive in on another episode of a Making Monday. We'll kind of get into all of these other specs when it comes to the different components, right, of efficiency rating and all that. To be honest, as I've looked at it, they have white certified, gold certified, bronze certified, platinum certified. I've never really had any issues with them. I've used white certified, which is like your very cheap entry level, power supplies, because I had one that came with it and I just reused it on another build, all the way up to the platinum ones. And I haven't seen one or the other default or have issues over the other. So 650 watts, a good spot for it. Now, there's a couple brands on here that I recognize. Now, MSI, that is a very big name in gaming. It makes sense of why they're probably going to charge. It's a gold rated, and it's a pretty premium for that 158 bucks. Manny, what do you think a good price point for a 650 watt power supply would be?
For 650 watts, I mean, honestly, anywhere from 80 to $200 is amazing.
Yeah, not too bad at all. And honestly, even as I'm looking at this one right now, this is bronze rated. It's MSI, 59 bucks, not bad. And plus, look at the reviews on that. So look, maybe there's some Black Friday or Cyber Monday sales still going on. So, we've got $59 on that one. That's actually not bad. 650 watt, and it's an MSI one. And again, maybe on some other episodes, we'll kind of dive deeper into the difference between a modular power supply and one that's got all the cables still kind of connected to it. But for our budget build, I kind of like that. So let's stick with that. 650 watts from MSI for $59. Looks like a pretty decent build there. All right, Manny. We've got a couple other parts left here, but do we have a complete PC? So let's take a look. We've got our CPU cooler, a motherboard for that chip to go into. We've got our 16 gigs of RAM. We've got an M.2 drive storage. We've got our graphics card. Do I need another graphics card? Do we need two for this build?
You can, but
I think that might be overkill.
a little bit.
Yeah. Right on. All right. And then we got our power supply. Looks like we did not choose a case, right? So we've got a little bit of time left. Let's dive into this case. Now, as we said earlier, right, we talked about this. So ATX, that was the size of our motherboard. We've really got to make sure that our ATX, the type of case that we get is also for ATX. We don't want micro or mini or anything like that. It won't fit our motherboard. It won't hold it. Now, I am sure if I probably scroll down here, I mean, I don't know, there's probably 100 options on here, and there's probably 48. That makes sense. There's probably about 4,800 different choices of PC cases out there. It's really up to you on what you want, right? It's really, this is where you kind of get to customize your personality into it. A couple things you might look out for. Do you want tempered glass? Do you not want tempered glass? Some of them are plexiglass on the side. Some are actual glass. Look at the volume, right? Some of these are larger than others. That's one big thing to kind of keep an eye out. Maybe you've got a small desk and you need something smaller, or maybe you're like Manny and you're like, bigger is better, and I've got to have the biggest thing out there, right? So keep an eye on the different sizes as well. Manny, what else for cases, man? What else would you be looking for a case?
Honestly, you covered pretty much just about the main basic points. It's really just a lot about personality. I mean, I
Yeah,
have a white case. Some people prefer a white case. Some people prefer a black case. I
for
mean,
sure.
there's all types of color cases. Some cases have a bunch of glass around the side. Like that one
Yeah,
that you chose is actually a super aesthetically pleasing case.
for sure.
Some of them just kind of just like it to be a little bit more enclosed. I mean, just
Yeah.
up to you, really, at that point.
Yeah. No, this seems to be one of the most popular models right now. This is the one I probably get the most requests for. Is, hey, can I get a black or white one? But I want it to have that corner shape to it. I want that corner case. And again, for $79 coming from Corsair, not
That's
bad
a
at
steal.
all. Yeah, that's a really good deal. Decent size, right? So 55 liters over a 45 liter. It's going to have more volume. It's going to have more room inside for your bigger graphics card. Remember, you're working on a budget build for now, but that doesn't mean that you don't come across a time when you decide you want to upgrade. And when you've got a little bit bigger case, that's going to leave room for that bigger GPU. Those big GPUs, you want like a 4080 or a 5090. Those things are massive. You need room, you need length, and you need size up and down. You need that girth. So, something to keep in mind, right, is when you're looking at that. The other thing too is another thing that I'm always looking for is, does it come with the fans? You will see that if you're shopping, especially if you use our link in the description, use our affiliate link, and you're looking for cases, that's one of the biggest things I would really challenge you to look at is make sure that it describes whether or not it comes with the fans or not. Let's see if this one does it here. Included fans. There we go. Right. See, okay. 320 millimeter fans included. And again, we can dive into this on another episode, but it's also got addressable RGB. This is where you get to customize it to your flavor, your colors, and the ones that you like. So overall, Mandy, I think this is probably a pretty decent case that I would probably recommend going with. To your point, I love the white. I like the corner, and it comes with those three fans built in. The one last thing we would want to do is probably add one more to the backside, and that's another topic for another episode. We'll talk about fans and which way the directions and how to ensure that you've got the greatest airflow going. So overall, man, I really like that one. I think that's a good one, good steal, especially at $79 for a Corsair fan, right?
Yeah.
Or for a
Yep.
Corsair case. All right.
Corsair's are usually over $100.
Yeah. Okay. So besides our operating system, besides Windows, and we're gonna save room for that in another episode. It looks like we've got our PC all set up. Now, here it is, time for the reveal of the price. Boom. All right, so we went over our budget just a little bit. You know, if you spend some time shopping around, you could probably save some a little bit of money on your RAM. You could probably save some money on a motherboard. That's actually a pretty good price for a new AM5 motherboard. You know, we got a heck of a deal on the cooler there, and the chip, right? That's a pretty decent price. So I think where you might save a little bit if we're trying to get that under 1,000 would be, yeah, you can always find a cheaper case, but that's actually a really nice case for the price there. You know, a 4060 graphics card. No, you don't have to go with that one. You could probably find a 3060 for $300, or you know, you might even find another AMD somewhat equivalent, maybe a step down for in the $200 range, right? That would really get you into that, you know, $800 to $900 range. But for what we're really looking at, I think this is a very solid build that would, I think, run just about any game. Many your take on that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've got a good mix of modern parts right here. Got that sweet spot of 16 gigabytes of RAM, plenty of wattage. I mean, a great graphics card. I mean,
Yeah.
again, even though it's 4000 series, I mean, kind of like you said, it's like a little bit of an older car, but still, I mean, has that advanced AI technology that can handle. I mean, games that are coming out still.
Yeah, for sure. And again, we really appreciate it. You know, if you guys could use our affiliate link down below for the Amazon, if you're doing anything like that, that helps the channel out. But I think that's what we're going to end it there, right? This kind of just walks us through a little bit about getting into the making of, you know, your new PC, the kind of parts that you're looking for. Yeah, we didn't add an operating system yet. Obviously, we're going to run Windows for most of our games. We didn't add a monitor yet, but you don't have to have either of those two right now. We'll even talk about this in another episode. You can actually install Windows on your computer completely free, right? With just a USB flash drive. So we'll talk about that on another episode. Stay tuned for that. But for the meantime, you know, I think we're going to kind of end it there. And you know, we just want to show our appreciation to you guys. We really appreciate you coming and joining the stream. If you're watching this at a later time, you know, please, you know, take the time to you know, add some comments below. Let us know if there's anything else that you want to hear or see from us as we do this. And you know, we'd love to be able to earn your guys' viewership when it comes to getting you to follow the channel, subscribe to us, you know, and we want to put out content that you guys want as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree. I agree. Yeah, just whatever you guys wanna look into, feel free to let us know. I mean, we're here for that. This first stream was to mainly focus on those beginner builds, kind of just the basics for a PC. Of course, I mean we've built a whole ton of different PCs. So, I mean we've got knowledge in terms of like everything that you're kind of looking for, questions. I mean, whatever you got, we're here for that.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to take a minute real quick to talk about our sponsor from glitchon.com, right? This website has, you know, look, they don't specialize in all things gaming PC. They just really focus on the PC itself. It's not so much, you know, you're not going to go find everything on there like they do at Amazon. But we did want to highlight one of their PCs that they currently have on special right now. And it's their Intel i5 14th gen. So, right, we talked a little bit about computer chips today, and we decided to go with an AMD build, but this one that they've got is their i5 build. It's got the newer RTX 5060 graphics card. It's got 32 gigabytes of RAM, running a very solid motherboard with Wi-Fi, and then that all important 1 terabyte storage drive. Windows 11 included, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth built in as well. And you can see that they've got some games that this thing just absolutely destroys, right? If you're looking to play Fortnite, I mean, it will tear up the FPS in terms of frames per second. If you're looking for that, we've tested this thing out on Cyberpunk. We've tested it out on Elden Ring. This thing just dominates. Manny, they've got some deals going right now, right? Or some specials when it comes to being able to put payments on them.
They do absolutely, which is also again a great part about the sponsor Glitchon. I mean, they've got all sorts of payment options, payment plans. I mean, even here shortly on the screen, you'll see a little promo code on there that you can put on there as well, just to save you a little bit of money. But I mean that's kind of what I love about them.
Yeah, they've got different options for their PCs. If you're looking to do payment plans, you can go check them out right now at glitch-on.com. Once you put the PC in your cart, there's many different options in there to do payment plans. And I think some of them start even as little as $50 up front to get started. The PC comes your way. And then, as you saw on the screen just now, if you use TRL 10 off in the discount code, you'll get an additional 10% off on your order. So I just wanted to give a special shout out to glitchon.com for sponsoring our videos. And with that, I think we are done. Manny, let's see.
We are.
Yeah.
Yeah, just about. Just like that, the hour's up, y'all. We managed to cover several key questions, and I hope you learned something helpful. Of course, if we didn't get to your question tonight, do not panic. This is a nightly stream for a reason. Weekdays, TRL is back again tomorrow night at the same time, 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. Central. Load up your questions and be here early to get them pinned in the chat.
Yep. Thank you so much for tuning in and making this the best part of our weeknights. If this stream helped you, please give the video a thumbs up on your way out. Seriously, it helps the channel grow. And if you haven't yet, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you never miss a chance to get your technical requests answered. If you just want to send a quick one-time thank you, there's a tip donation link. It should be right below in the video. Every dollar helps us, cover things like, replacing our hardware, paying for the software, the licenses, and keeping the lights on to be here every night. So there's no expectation at all, but it's always hugely appreciated.
And lastly, if you're looking to build your PC and need new parts, using our affiliate link, I know we talked about that quite a bit, but it is super, super helpful. It supports the channel and keeps us coming back to you nightly. Keep building, keep gaming, and we will see you all of you tomorrow night for the next session of Technical Request Live.
Thank you guys. Good night.